welcome to April's edition of HR Hot Topics. I'm your host, Jodi Schafer, and today actually marks the 11-year anniversary of me owning this amazing consulting business, so I just thought it was fitting that I mention that. I'm going to go through an update this month of some things that we're watching and some things that are scheduled to take effect in April, whether or not they do. As you know, the world of HR is always changing, and we're on the edge of our seats to figure out what's really going to happen, but at least kind of a primer on what to be watching for. The first is that we are supposed to hear from the Department of Labor this month on the final rule around the increase to earning threshold for your exempt employees. If you'll remember, I brought this to you back in September. The Department of Labor had issued a proposed new rule that would increase the earning threshold for exempt employees. Those are your salaried employees. As a reminder, a salaried employee has to meet certain duties requirements in order to be considered salary, has to be paid on a salary basis, and has to be paid a minimum amount of money. And the minimum amount of money is the part that the Department of Labor was looking at increasing. That came out in September, and then there's a 60-day comment period, and then they're supposed to read the comments and determine whether or not they want to make any changes before they publish the final rule. And then typically after the final rule is published, there's a period of time before it actually becomes effective. So we're expecting to see the published final rule in the month of April. Based on the proposed language, we're expecting to see increases to the salary threshold go from $35,568 a year, which right now is the minimum amount a salaried employee can earn and still be considered exempt. And we're expecting that to go to at least $55,000 a year. So a very significant increase there. There is a category in the FLSA exemption rules for highly compensated employees, and there would be an increase to that earning threshold as well. Right now, it's just north of $107,000. That would go up to $144,000, so another large jump there. And then the third thing that the proposed rule put in place, and this is the part that I think is probably going to get some pushback from the courts, an automatic raise to these salary thresholds every 3 years based on current earning data. So right now, once a threshold is set, it's set. There's no mechanism in place to automatically adjust that for inflation or cost of living or anything like that, which is part of the problem. I mean, that's why those levels sit for so long, and then we get so far out of alignment with, the current cost of living, and then the Department of Labor has to go in and make these significant sweeping changes. So the idea of putting in some sort of an automatic mechanism to update or adjust these earning thresholds over time is a good idea, but it's a pretty significant change to the way that the current language around this law is written. So I expect that we'll see pretty significant court challenges to this. So, even if the final rule is published this month as expected, even if those earning thresholds go up as expected, expect to see a lot of action at the courts, which may affect whether or not employers have to comply with the rule, and if so, which parts of the rule. So I just wanted to make sure that that's on the horizon, because we'll probably see something around that this month. Another thing that's happening this month in the state of Michigan, we are having the election for 2 open House seats. If you'll recall, the Dems had a slim majority in both the House and the Senate, and then 2 folks that currently had House seats won their mayoral races in their hometowns, which left those 2 seats vacant. And so currently, the Michigan House of Representatives is at a deadlock 54-54 tie, Dems to Republicans. So not a lot's happening right now in our state in terms of legislation. If you recall, the Dems had a lot of momentum kind of moving into the fall last year. They'd passed a lot of new legislation. They have a really ambitious agenda for this year as well. But when they lost the majority in the House, everything kind of grounded to a halt. And then we were just waiting for those 2 seats to be filled. So that race is on April 16th. So we will find out on April 16th whether or not the Dems retain their majority, or whether it's a split, or maybe it'll shift to the Republicans. Who knows? But it will make a big difference in terms of how much legislation continues to get pushed through this calendar year. And then at the end of this calendar year, all those seats are up for re-election. So we'll see a shakeup there too. But just wanted to cue you in on that date, April 16th. That's important for the state of Michigan. And then the other thing we're waiting on, and who knows whether we'll hear about it this month or not, it's kind of like every day could be the day we hear, and that's the Michigan Supreme Court decision, the Mothering Justice Supreme Court decision. This was in early December. The Michigan Supreme Court heard the case about whether or not the Michigan legislature had the ability to adopt and amend ballot proposals around both minimum wage and paid leave time. We've been hearing a lot about this. I mean, it goes all the way back to 2019, so this has been going on a lot, and it's been debated in the courts. Was it legal? Was it illegal? Depending on which court case, which court's ruling, it's flipped both ways now. So it's worked its way all the way up to the Michigan Supreme Court. They heard the case on the 7th of December, and so we wait to see what they rule. And it could mean really significant changes for all the employers listening to this. If the Michigan Supreme Court sides with Mothering Justice and says, yes, in fact, the legislature did not have the constitutional authority to adopt and amend ballot initiatives in the same legislative session for increases to minimum wage and the requirement for paid sick leave, then employers are going to have to comply with the language as the original ballot had written it, not as the legislature had amended it. And we've been working and living with amended language since 2019, so it'll be a pretty significant shift. I assume it will not be effective immediately. Even if Michigan Supreme Court does side with Mothering Justice, it wouldn't have an immediate effective date. There would be some sort of ramp-up period, but pretty significant changes there too. So you can bet if that decision comes in outside of the normal filming schedule for HR Hot Topics, I will hop on my phone, as I've done in the past, and let you know all about it. As of now, we've heard nothing, but again, it could be any day now. One other comment I wanted to make: anytime there is a change at the state or federal level to a law, we had the change to independent contractor rules, for example, that went into effect on March 11th. That would be a change to an existing law. Then your employment law posters also need to be updated. Now, I did get a call from a client asking about where should they get their employment law posters from. And you can, on your own, go online and download the employee notice portion of all these different laws for free. But who has the time to do that? And what's the master checkoff list? And how do you know if you need to go on and download some new language or not? And so most clients instead choose to go with an employment law service. You pay an annual fee, you get the updated employment laws. It's in one nice poster. It's usually a two-sided thing. And then for that full year of your subscription, anytime there's a change, you automatically get the changes sent to you. You don't have to go online and check for anything. So I was recently at a conference that was put on by the Michigan Chamber, and I asked about this because I knew the Michigan Chamber had this service. And it's $60 for a one-year subscription. So just a plug here for the Michigan Chamber. Whether you are a member or not, you can get your employment law posters through them. You can also check your professional associations. Oftentimes that's a service that they offer too. But I would highly encourage all of you, if you don't already have that, if you have employees in your workplace and you need to have employment law posters put up in a place where employees can see them, usually a break room, a lunch room, near the time clock, something like that. But it's not enough to just set it and forget it. You actually have to then update those rules. So it's a good idea to get yourself enrolled with a service, and they're not all that expensive. So I'll put a link to the Michigan Chamber service in this month's email message. But again, check your professional associations too. You might get them for free as part of your professional membership. Two other quick notes here, and they have to do with leadership training. One, I just want to tell you, I'm so excited about this. Will's dancing behind the camera. We are hosting our first in-person leadership training May 9th, and we put that announcement out just a handful of weeks ago, and it's already sold out. We knew it would. It's our most popular training. So we've sold out the seats, and I know many of you are still interested. We are putting a wait list together, and we're looking at additional dates. So whether that's yet this spring or maybe in the fall, we will host this again. So if you missed it the first time around, make sure you get your name on our wait list. That way, the next time we have a date available, you'll get an individual email sent right to you so you don't miss it, and we'll get you on the next list. We're looking at some other training topics that we could put out for in-person training too. Make and Take Handbook Seminar is one. Right now we do that through the Michigan Dental Association for their dental members, but for those of you that are not dentists but would have an interest in a seminar where you actually draft your own customized handbook right there in the seminar with our guidance and with our template, we're looking at offering that perhaps this fall. And then a leadership training kind of part 2. We can only fit so much content in 6 hours. And really, if you have used any of our leadership training materials on HR Hazmat before, you know that it's much longer than 6 hours to get through all of the must-know content, in our opinion. And so we might also offer a second leadership training that would be like the part 2 to what's happening on May 9th. So if you're attending the May 9th training and you really enjoyed that, keep your eyes peeled for kind of session 2, which may also happen in the fall. So all of that, it's just kind of an update sort of month. As I said, if we hear on the Michigan Supreme Court case, I will come to you directly. I will not wait until May. But if that doesn't happen between now and then, I will see you next month. And if you have any questions, you can reach me at Jodi Schafer at workwithhrm.com.